What kind of week could it be without War Tycoon having another big issue? Not trying to hate on the developers or anything that they have been doing. I think that the work they have recently been doing is in fact absolutely magnificent, and I would love them to continue doing it. However, there is another issue / crisis which is currently going on inside of the game. This time it's going to be with the tanks, with the Abrams X especially having a little bit of a problem, and I'm going to be explaining you guys how the Abrams X these days is really just not as versatile as it used to be as the new tanks have dropped. I'm not saying that the new tanks being added into the game is a bad thing. I really do like being them actually added. However, there are a few issues with the Abrams X as of this current moment, which I would actually like to address as a Game Pass in terms of the economy of the game. Alright, so jumping right into War Tycoon, there's actually a few details which I would like to speak of. First up, the Abrams X is a Game Pass tank holding up a price of 1,500 Robux, which is actually a very big price. And I really do like the Abrams X as a whole. The price has actually been dropped to 1,000 Robux, however, it hasn't been done by Gizmotech or any developers in the game. It has been done by Roblox, who have decided to drop down the price of a lot of Game Passes in this game as of this current moment. I literally cannot show you guys a perfect screenshot. However, whatever I can find here on the internet is kind of an example, as you guys can see on the screen right now. This is kind of the drop of price of a lot of Game Passes in this game as of this current moment. And I do wonder why Roblox has actually done this. I do not really have the answer of this. I guess they are just experimenting, and that's exactly the same answer that Gizmotech has gave us. Now, talking about the Abrams X, let's explain you guys the statistics of the Abrams X, and what is so good about it is of course the futuristic US Army MBT with unrivaled firepower and 2 machine gun. And this is where we have a problem, guys. Unrivaled firepower. So let's just go for this firepower, of course. So we have ourselves the cannon shell, which is the XM360, which in fact is one of the best cannons in the game in terms of damage, which I completely respect. I believe the only cannon that does more damage in this game, except for the Abrams X cannon, is actually going to be the mouse, which is, we do not have any problems here. However, where the problems do start to arrive is where the Abrams X started to be shining, which it does not shine in those categories anymore. It is going to be its machine gun, which is the double machine gun, of course, with the explosive shots coming out. However, there are a lot more new tanks which have exactly the same thing in this game, which could actually outdamage the Abrams X with, of course, their normal machine gun. And tanks that could, of course, outdamage the Abrams X with the normal machine gun is first up going to be the M3 Bradley, which I respect because of the health. However, stuff I'm a little bit annoyed about is going to be the T14 Armada, being able to completely have a way better cannon, the way better machine gun than the Abrams X. And that's where we start having problems. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. However, this Game Pass is worth 1,500 Robux overall for most people that have been buying this Game Pass. And now the only thing that is separating the Abrams X from any other vehicle in this game is, first up, its speed is 50, so that's currently one of the highest speeds, if not the highest speed in the game for the tanks. Of course, we have ourselves the Javelin lock-on launcher and the 1.7,000 health. However, tanks like the T14 Armada have 1.8k health, meaning that it already has higher health than the Abrams X by at least 100. However, this is not where the problems end, because there has been a brand new tank that has been added into War Tycoon, such as the PL01, which is exactly the same tank as the Abrams X with almost every single category, except it has lower health and it has a, I believe, what's it called? It doesn't have the Javelin, which is also, I guess, fine, because it kind of keeps it balanced. However, let me ask you guys one very interesting question. If this tank does exactly the same damage as the Abrams X with most categories, but just having a little bit of a debuff, do you think the Abrams X will be worth 1,500 Robux? Personally, I do not think so. And this is where the problems actually start to wrap up. Let's just say you are a brand new player in War Tycoon who hasn't experienced the Abrams X at its peak, and they decide to buy the Abrams X for 1,500 Robux, and the only bonus they get from the tank is the fact that it's going to be having a Javelin lock-on launcher, and that's pretty much the only unique thing about it, except for, of course, the high health. Most tanks are now able to outdamage the Abrams X, of course, without the Javelin, and the only thing that allows the Abrams X to win some fights most of the time is going to be the Javelin lock-on launcher, which rarely actually hits because people are now able to smoke it, because people now are able to use the strategy. However, I do not have a problem with the strategy of smoke smoke being able to deflect javelins, because it's kind of the point of it in War Tycoon. And I really do respect that, because it also takes a lot of skill to actually deflect the javelins, because you have to hear the sound and perfectly time when the smoke is going to be coming out. So that's not where the problem actually comes. The problem actually comes at the point is that a lot of tanks these days are just able to rival the Abrams X so easily, and the reason why a lot of new players buy the Abrams X is simply because they do not like the other tanks, or they would like to have some kind of a benefit. And let's just say the only people who are gonna be able to use the Abrams X to its max advantage are going to be the top players in this game, who perfectly understand every single mechanic of the game. And I have went through this, going for all the mechanics of the Abrams X in a lot of previous videos, talking about how it actually works, how to play as it, but I might be making its own separate video of kind of just being giving hints on how to use it most of my videos. But really, just tell me the answer to this question: is the Javelin lock-on launcher as an extra worth the 1,500 Robux? Let's just be honest, I do not think so. So I believe in the next couple of updates, the Abrams X should definitely be having some kind of a buff if the developers want to keep getting sales from the Abrams X as a Game Pass, of course. And again, the Abrams, I really do like the fact that they are closing in the gap between pay to win and free to play, and the gap is like so tight right now. Like the Abrams X is barely being the top at the moment. So this is a few things which I think should be changed that wouldn't give the Abrams X so much of a damage advantage, or maybe I'm gonna think of something really cool. So how about the Abrams X, since it does have such modern technology, how about it would be able to see where every vehicle is on the map at a specific moment? Or let's say the Abrams X would be able to see every near vehicle with kind of the lock-on red thing that works like a javelin even after you guys already use the javelin. So it's pretty much systems that tell you guys where stuff is, and it would very much make sense to reality, since it is going to be a modern tank. Actually, in fact, it is going to be a futuristic tank. So I do believe that something like this would be absolutely great for the Abrams X. And if we look at actual pictures of the prototype itself, the Abrams X does not have a javelin. So here's the deal: since it is a futuristic tank, I definitely believe it should be having some kind of a buff. And there is also another buff which I believe the developers could do to make the Abrams X slightly better, so it is actually going to be worth its money, such as giving it the second most highest health in the game for a tank. And I believe the health of the Abrams X should be increased to around 2,000, and maybe they should be adding maybe like an extra javelin. But again, there's a thing: you guys should decide in the comment section down below which change you would actually like to happen, because the developers have actually been listening to a lot of my videos recently, and they have been buffing a lot of things or nerfing a lot of things based on the stuff I've been talking about. I really do respect the fact that Gizmotech and the development team also watches these videos, and I believe us as a community, we could change how this game is going, because after all, we're the ones who are giving the feedback, and the developers are making the game around how we actually want it to be. And out of these things which I just put right here, let's say an extra javelin, maybe automated systems that tell you where stuff is, or maybe extra health. Again, it is up to you guys to decide which one you think would be the best to be added into the game in order to make the Abrams X better. But I also thought of an idea in my head of maybe I even added wire-guided missile to the Abrams X, which could also be very cool to increase its firepower in some sense, to actually make it worth its Robux, or maybe just making a complete new Game Pass tank in the place of Abrams X. There's really a lot of things that the developers could do, and I personally think that it's great that they are making the gap tighter between the pay-to-win and free-to-play. However, the Game Passes, after all, is what actually supports the developers, and that's the reason why they are adding it, because it also allows them to be able to continue paying their bills and getting paid for the work that they are actually doing, because after all, if they do not get any Game Pass sold, then they are simply not going to be able to develop the game. That's just the way that game economy works these days. Anyway, I could be making this video 20 minutes long because I've got so many more ideas, but I'm just gonna leave it as a short 8 to 10 minute video and try my best to just see what the developers can do. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think should actually be changed to the Abrams X and how it could actually become better, because at the moment there is a huge problem with it and I think there should be things that could be addressed. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video and let me know in the comment section down below again what you think of this video, and yeah, I'll see you later guys, bye bye.